Blow my fucking panties off. Go.
Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
Episode 87 of the Play Pants podcast. That's Rod Ryan. Hola, Papi. I'm Jason Ginty, and we are ready to go with an exciting episode where we are going to cover so much dumb shit your head's going to implode. Which is basically what we should call like the, you know how you have like a title, then you have like a subtitle? You know, the Play Pants podcast. We're going to cover so much dumb shit your head will implode.
Well, but you know,
not bad.
as my boss would tell me, and as you as a program director now, you would talk to your staff and you would say, well, let's implement some word economy here. So what you would say is podcast 87, and then take what you said, and then we would just type out more dumb shit.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I love that phrase, word economy.
Well, as a guy that talks a lot, I've been on the receiving end of that more than once in a heated conversation with an authoritative person.
Yeah, those authoritative people probably aren't on the radio and haven't been for years. That's what's fun about that, right? That's a whole other discussion for another day, man. We got a lot to cover today. The great Priscilla Presley having a 78th birthday this week. Of course, Elvis Presley's ex-wife. So Rod had a great idea. Let's talk about rock star wives and girlfriends and relationships. And there are some really cool ones I cannot wait to dive into today.
And I don't think it's a hands down winner. I mean, Priscilla's going to be up there, but I don't know that she is the most famous rock star wife of all time. I don't know that I'm ready to crown her that, but she's got a great argument for it. So I can't wait to get into that.
And then Lenny Kravitz has a birthday this week as well. He turns 59, doesn't look a day over 23. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's a vampire.
He is so freaking cool. And I just watched a couple weeks ago some like little 5-minute YouTube thing, and he's got this place down in the Bahamas where he's working on a new album. And he's like, yeah, I just got up and I lift and I run and then I eat wheatgrass or whatever the fuck he eats. And it's like he's in perfect shape and he's just got this regiment. And it's like, man, I got to be honest. If I could live on an island and ride a horse around and have a trainer and eat the right food, I'd still be a piece of shit.
But he looked awesome always, even when he lived in New Orleans.
I know he
always looked amazing. His condo was just a block away from where mine is, and it's still there. I remember when it was kind of up for sale, and that was cool because then they showed pictures online to see what it looked like. So we can talk a little bit about that too.
We're going to run down his top 5 or our top 5 favorite Lenny Kravitz songs. I don't think we did it. You asked me. I didn't think about even checking up to see if we did. If we did, I'm sure it'll be different songs this time because it always seems to change. And then we're going to get into Memorial Day weekend is this weekend that we record this episode. And Rod's got a few. He's got one recommendation. And I remember this vividly. You recommended this movie to watch Memorial Day weekend last year. And guess who hasn't seen the movie yet?
You.
This dipshit right here.
You know who did watch it? Michael Stans.
Oh, goody.
Love Mike Stans. He listens to just about every one of these. And I remember him hitting me back saying, man, thank you for that recommendation for that movie. Wow, you were right. That is the Memorial Day movie. So we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about the real reason that we have Memorial Day weekend. It's not just grilling and mattress sales and all that sort of thing.
I was actually going to ask you that about how you handling that with your radio station, because it is obviously the grilling, chilling, getting hammered, having friends over, pool parties, grilling, which you know, as a radio station, you want to reflect what your listeners are doing. This is the program director talking now, right? You always want to reflect what the lifestyle is happening in the moment. But then I talk to my staff and I'm like, man, you know what? There's a real reason we have the barbecues, man. It's the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So you've got to balance that. Like, how do you approach it? Because I know your morning show, you've got, you know, your listeners love you and all that stuff. So how do you approach it?
Well, because we have people that have been listening a long time, they kind of know who you are. So you don't always have to. You can do a whole break talking about chili peeing in the pool and hot dogs on the grill. And you can talk about Memorial Day weekend and how excited you are. And man, we don't got to work. You can do that whole thing. And I won't get one email. Well, Rod, it was kind of disrespectful. You didn't mention the real reason. If we're taking care and talking about the military and showing our appreciation year round, which we do and all of us, and it comes from a real genuine place from everybody on the show. Like I don't have to tell anybody, hey, make sure you act like you appreciate the military. It's never anything that I have to force upon anyone. Everyone genuinely really does feel that way, and it comes up throughout the year. So we're covered.
Right.
Now I will say, like I said already, okay, it's not just hot dogs on the grill. There's a reason. Okay, those that made the ultimate sacrifice. Where people get, it's kind of like, when you come across somebody that's Jewish and you tell them Merry Christmas. I don't have one Jewish friend that gets upset being told Merry Christmas. Okay.
Right.
But one year, I won't say his name. He worked at the radio station and he kind of was thanking veterans. And his whole spiel was, thanking veterans and really appreciate, all the veterans, and didn't specifically say, Memorial Day weekend is specifically for the men and women that made the ultimate sacrifice. And he took a little crap for that. And I said, it's not coming from a place of being mean, and it's not even overly ignorant. He was just really excited about anyone that served the country because he didn't. But because he didn't specifically state what Memorial Day was about, he caught some shit online. And then, online people start to kind of just pile on. Yeah. And I thought it was really unwarranted. I guess, you're really not supposed to say Happy Memorial Day weekend.
No, that does feel a little weird.
but again, it's not coming from a place of you're trying to be mean or insensitive. It's like, man, have a good long weekend. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. There's some people that have a problem with that. The nuns and the priests, when I was a little kid, you wouldn't say Happy Good Friday. Good Friday is supposed to be a terrible day. Right. It's the most holy day. It's a solemn day. It's when Jesus is going through hell. If somebody says Happy Good Friday to you and it ruins your day, then come on, So the same thing kind of goes with Memorial Day. Okay, let's be very clear that this is the one that is for those that died serving the country. Okay, but I don't think we've got to get too upset about it, man. I think he was coming from a point where, hey, man, make sure you thank a veteran. Well, we're thanking people that aren't here to thank. That's what this weekend's about. Right. But I don't think you need to grill somebody over that.
No. And I've seen it happen before. Some military guys, and they're like, well, that's for Veterans Day, thanking a veteran. I'm like, dude, we're thanking you. Who cares? I mean, if someone says, you know what I mean, and I get it, it gets a little sensitive, and that's why I was asking, because I used to just be like, yeah, we're talking about beers and hot dogs and the whole thing. But because we're a little more sensitive age, and it's like, well, you can talk about, like you said, you talk about it, but then you also go the other way with it. So it's just a balance is kind of the deal. That's what we're doing too all weekend. We're just balancing the two.
If you were to send out an email to your staff, I would say something to the effect of what I did. Right. Again, if you're appreciative of the military, man, I see that all as upside. Yeah. But if you really want to be specific, make sure that the messaging is, hey, those that gave all, and showing the appreciation for the ultimate sacrifice. So we will talk about a movie. At least one person that listens to this podcast watched the movie last year. I will watch it this weekend at some point. Can we take a look real quick at YouTube from last week?
Yeah. And then I want to ask you a dude question.
Okay.
It's important. It actually folds into the grilling thing. So yeah. Do it. Well,
I was happy that Melissa Goolsby hit us up on YouTube, because that was her suggestion for the Tom Hanks. And again, she stopped shy from giving me her top 5, but Melissa was our inspiration for coming up with what we did last week. And Melissa says the movie Big was one of my top 5. Money Pit is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And The Green Mile.
Oh shit.
Dude, did the Green Mile, even if it wasn't in our top 5s, the Green Mile should have been mentioned last week, correct?
Yeah, because it was a bit of a different role for Tom Hanks in that movie too, and that movie's great. That movie is
because he kind of wasn't the star,
right?
I mean, he was, but it didn't. it didn't. I would say that he was the number 2 in that movie.
He didn't carry it.
Melissa, you're right. Thank you. The Green Mile definitely should have been mentioned.
What in the blue fuck?
Jason and I say that all the time.
Line ever. What?
And that's James Cromwell, right?
Yeah, he's so great. When they fry the guy, it doesn't go well, and he's burning his face and shit, and he comes down the stairs.
Percy doesn't put the water on the sponge.
That's what it was.
And then the electric chair goes wrong, and there's this horrific scene. And there's, back the movie takes place, I'm going to guess, in the 40s or 50s.
I think it was the 40s, yeah.
And there were still witnesses there, and it was just horrific. Apparently, you needed to have water on that sponge when you spiraled it down on the head, when you clamped it down. And so it was a big mistake. And the guys are in the back room, and James Cromwell is the warden, and he's, what in the blue fuck was that?
It's the greatest.
And I don't know, you and I must be watching that movie together, and we just knew, okay, there's something that's going to be said for the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's like we're going to be beating the shit out of the fucking what? No way guy for the next 10 years. It's like, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, we will beat it into the dust.
But when you do what we do, it just becomes a part of your gig now. When you watch a movie, even if it's a newer movie and something's really funny, you listen to that sound clip and you wonder, hey, would that sound funny on the radio?
Right.
As soon as, this popped in my head, but in the movie Old School, as soon as Vince Vaughn said, oh yeah, cheese, I fucking knew that would kill on the radio. Yep. Just playing that isolated, even if you didn't see the movie Old School, cheese, I knew that was going to be a funny drop. And I probably used it this week. There was a story about cheese or something. People can't open up the American craft slices, and we played it on the air like 3 times the other day.
Well, it's like every time somebody swears around a kid, earmuffs. You know, it's the same concept. So yeah. Yeah, no, that was a great top 5 last week. The Tom Hanks thing, I end up, it happens every time. I like edit stuff together and put everything in, and then put it up on so people can listen to it on Wednesday nights. So I'm doing that, but then of course I'm thinking about the conversation. I'm going back and listening to just bits and pieces of the podcast as I'm putting it together, and then I'm like, oh yeah, shit, let me go check this thing about Tom Hanks. So what should take me about 15 minutes to do takes me about 2 hours every Wednesday.
Oh, because I start getting lost.
I start getting lost in YouTube and looking up shit. So I gotta get more disciplined. But yeah, the Tom Hanks thing is pretty badass.
All right, NOCF quick top 5 Tom Hanks. Number 5, Road to Perdition. Number 4, The Burbs. Number 3, Big. Number 2, Saving Private Ryan. Number 1, Money Pit. Number 1. Now, wow. I did talk about how funny that movie is, and still to this day, Tom Hanks. Okay, speaking of like a drop that gets played on the radio, because the funniest moment is when Tom Hanks goes through the floor, right? And then he's sitting there and he's making the little money and he's making the little paper airplanes. But maybe the funniest thing in that movie, which I will play this on the air, is when they're filling the bathtub and it goes through the floor down to the first floor, and then he does that laugh.
It's brilliant.
He does that laugh like he's just losing his mind. And I'm not going to get into what the Money Pit's about, but he is absolutely at the end of his rope. And Tom Hanks has a laugh, no doubt about it. Seth Rogen has a laugh. Tom Hanks has a laugh that is very, very much his. But this is the greatest one ever. And that drop, I use that on the air all the time because it's just instantly makes you laugh. It's just when you play it on the air by itself, you can't not smile, at least hearing that.
And it always makes me, now that I watched a lot of these movies, and that movie's been out forever, is like, I sit there and I think, well, was that something that just said laughs and kind of loses it, and then Tom Hanks just takes and expands on it? Or did they do that scene like 7 times until he got it right? You know what I mean? Those are those moments in movies where you're like, did he just fucking do that? You know what I mean? Or was it plotted out and planned out? Because sometimes you just get lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly can't. A writer cannot type out the laugh. It just says, you would have to say
shit,
losing your mind, hysterically laughing, like you're at the end of your rope. They could do all these descriptive things, but Tom's just got to do it.
Right.
So, yeah, I would put that, even if I had 5 minutes with Tom Hanks, I would ask him that question.
Yeah.
The laugh in Money Pit. How many takes? And I mean, I wouldn't take up a lot of time with that.
Would be funny.
I would absolutely sandwich that into a Tom Hanks interview. I really think it's would be that important. I mean, there'd be obviously a million things to ask him, but that certainly would be one. One more here. Michael Martinez. Oh, no, that was Michael. Oh, no, this is Michael. Here we go. The Burbs in at 5. Again with the Burbs. Money Pit at 4. Road to Perdition at 3. A League of Their Own at 2. Saving Private Ryan at 1. Man, people, because we talked about how Tom Hanks kind of had, the young career and then everything else. Like if you really kind of cut his span of movies almost in half. Right. Some of the young stuff was silly. I mean, I love Bachelor Party and all that really silly stuff, but we didn't know that Tom Hanks was going to become the biggest actor in the world. Was he Splash? Yeah. Okay, I thought so. I'm like sitting here going, oh, we didn't even talk about that. That's Turner and Hooch, that's Money Pit, first all run. That stuff. Yeah, that's first run Tom Hanks. Yeah, that's the first 15 years Tom Hanks. Yeah. By the way, NOCF, wouldn't 10 duck-sized bears be like 10 pit bulls? I would have to go with the one giant duck. Good point. Yeah, that was a weird question that came out of the left field, and people kept hitting on that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep my weird fucking questions to myself. This one's an easier question, Rod. Okay, so last weekend had some people over, pool, hanging, everyone's drinking, having a night, it's just a nice little time. Great time. So a guy is on the grill, right? And he's cooking. He's like, yeah, I got it. Okay, cool. You got it. I'm chilling in the water. I don't want to get out. No big deal. I think nothing of it. Yeah, man, you want to cook the burgers? You do it. Cool. Whoa. Is this at your house? Is it my house? Somebody's using the grill at your house? Which was going to be my question. Okay, obviously I know the answer. You? Oh my God, this is crazy. This is the same comment. So I'm sitting. What? No way. Damn it. So I'm in the pool, and then he's fucking up the burgers. Whoever this dude is, he's fucking them up. So I get out. I'm like, all right. You got flames pouring out and shit. I'm like, all right. So I go over and I cook. And then my buddy comes over who's in the pool, and he goes, I go, yeah, man. I said, your burgers might be a little fucked up. And he goes, what the fuck is this? You're letting somebody use your grill? There you go. Yeah, I am. It's right fucking here. Why wouldn't I? I was in the pool. I don't give a shit who cooks. Start giving a shit, dude. It's your grill. It's your house. It is an absolute thing. Wow. It is a thing. Huh. Now, if somebody brings over something specific to put on the grill, then okay. So Chile, he goes to the Mexican meat market and he gets the most tender fajita meat, and it's already pre-marinated and everything. Yeah. It's amazing. I kind of let him do that, but I'm already doing, the burgers and the grills and doing, and all of that stuff. Right. If somebody brings something over specific, hey, you know what? I don't want to wreck that. I'm not familiar with that, whatever. But if it's hamburgers and hot dogs and it's at your house, you heard my reaction because I needed to know immediately. Wait a minute. A dude is using the grill. Would you let him make out with your wife? I mean, it's the same thing. Wow. I looked at my buddy just like I'm looking at you like, okay, it's fine. Like if you came into my house, right? And we're hanging out, cooking and stuff, or we're going to cook some burgers. Yeah. I know you're a fucking better cook than I am. So I'm going to be like, bro, you want to hit that grill? Like, I would have no problem. I'd be like, because I know you know what you're fucking doing better than I will. So I don't give a shit. I really don't care. Now, you like Rando. It was somebody I knew cooking. So I didn't really care about that. But he's like, hey man, can I get the grill going? I'm like, yeah, do it. I'm chilling in the water. So it was like, yeah, that was an interesting reaction that you had before I even finished the question. Holy shit. So you're not allowed to do that, huh? No, at Bearman, I'm helicoptering too. If Chili or somebody is on my grill, I'm there, dude. I'm there. I'm hovering. I'm hanging. I got an extra tong ready to go. I might be goosing him a little bit from behind. Yeah. I'm there. I'm present. If there's stuff on the grill, I'm present. I'm not fucking swimming in the pool while the grill is blowing up.
Yeah. I mean, the grill was
Nut
right
job.
there. It wasn't blowing up. Is it the reason? Is it a safety issue, or is it just, hey, I'm a dude and this is my fucking grill? Is it that issue?
So,
Is that what it is?
God rest his soul, Mitch, the engineer, he would come over and he was a really, really good cook. So he brought over, bacon wrapped, armadillo eggs, they call them here in Texas. And I don't know what the fuck, but it's bacon on the outside and it's probably jalapenos and shit like that on the inside. Well, bacon cannot be unattended on a grill.
No.
And here's me. Okay, Mitch is this guy. He kind of taught me how to smoke and do that. I know he knows his stuff. So I kind of don't helicopter on him. Dude, this fucking black charry smoke is coming out of the grill and it colors the side of my house. Okay. Now I've got like the next day I'm scrubbing my house. Terrible, dude. I had smoke stains on my house. Bacon. You cannot leave somebody at your grill.
I guess it's just weird. It just felt like it was like I was like, my buddy looked at me in shock. Like I let another man touch my grill. I'm like, well, that's weird. I'll let a buddy drive my car. That's not a big deal. I don't like it, but anyway. Okay. Lesson learned. I learned something new every day on this podcast. See, it ain't all dumb shit.
Hey, Priscilla Presley, as we're recording this on Wednesday, May 24th, 78 years old. She's been in the news a little bit lately because I guess that would be her granddaughter is the chick from Daisy Jones and Daisy Jones and the Six.
Yeah, that's her. Which I didn't know. Riley Keough.
Riley Keough.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. She's awesome.
So Elvis had one kid, and then that kid had two kids. One of them had passed away. So Riley is the only grandkid of Elvis. So she's kind of taken over the estate now because her mom passed away. Lisa Marie Presley just passed away a little while ago.
Right.
And apparently, and this kind of sucks. So Riley Keough is now fighting her grandma and they're fighting over money and estate things. And apparently they got it worked out. I don't know how any of that works. I will say this, and I'll stick up for Priscilla Presley because the things that I had read before, long time ago, that Elvis estate wasn't worth a whole lot when Elvis passed away. Mm-hmm. And she kind of kept it humping along. And she built it up to, a couple $100 million empire with all the licensing and everything. So I think even though they were only married a short period of time, it still was Elvis's wife who produced Elvis's only kid. And, I don't know what they're fighting about. We'll never know. But I just don't look at her as like this money grubber. I really do think that she was kind of in on this and in the best interest of keeping things going for her daughter, knowing that she was going to be the sole heir until she had kids, which we have Riley Keough.
Right.
Is Priscilla Presley the most famous rock star wife of all time?
Man, that's a tough one.
The most well-known.
Kind of the first one.
But for being a rock star wife, I'm going to throw it. I'm going to take somebody off the table. Okay. Even though she wouldn't really be mentioned, but when Gwen Stefani was married to Gavin Rossdale, Gwen Stefani is Gwen Stefani on her own. She's famous on her own. So it's almost not fair, but I guess everything's in play.
Yeah. They were more equals.
Okay, I know, but I'm going to take that back off the table just because I want to see where this goes. Who is the most famous rock star wife of all time?
You got to look at Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, to a lesser level, because it just didn't last very long, was Kurt and Courtney Cobain. Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain, because they were huge. They were peak fire at that moment.
The discussion. Absolutely in the discussion. And then you got to put Pam Anderson in there.
Well, she was with everybody. So, her situation.
Pam and Tommy, nothing ever came close to Pam and Tommy. I mean, sure, I would say you would just pile on extra points for throwing Kid Rock in there. But I think you got to have Pam Anderson in there. as far as the most famous. And again, famous on her own, but Pam and Tommy, come on. It's Pam and Tommy. You just say one with the other. They haven't been married in 25 years. Pam and Tommy still seems like something that you say and you pair them together.
Well, the videotape certainly helped that situation out a lot. You know, it was still huge, but man, when that videotape came out, that thing, I mean, that was it. They were white hot. You know, you could look at, and this is going back a little bit further, Billy Joel and Christy Brinkley was pretty big for that time period in the 80s, you know. He wrote Uptown Girl about her. She's in the video, that whole thing. But
she didn't glow up with Billy. She was I did say glow up. So she was already a supermodel. Right. So boom, they were already there. Like they were already two huge people that came together, kind of like Gwen Stefani and Gavin Rossdale. They were both big names together, but
you could look at Eddie Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli too, both huge stars at the time, you know, and they came together. So,
and it's pretty universally known, you know, my litmus test is, okay, I'm going to run these names by my mom, and my mom's going to know everybody that we've talked about already. Like she's going to say, okay, like my mom, I think knows who Courtney Love is. And she definitely knows who Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love is.
Right.
The only other one that I wrote down, I mean, there's tons of, you know, famous wives. There's Sherry Moon Zombie, Shannon Tweed. I even kind of thought about with Gene Simmons, but it's just, those are just famous people that are married. Did everybody know that David Bowie was with Iman forever?
I don't know if that was as universally known, but I mean, I knew it, but that's the world we live in too, you know, but they were together forever too, man.
But it's nowhere near Priscilla Presley.
Oh God, no one's touching Priscilla Presley because she was kind of the first one. She was this little girl, a little too little, but the times were different.
Yes.
And, you know, and then they were together and they were just everywhere. He was the biggest thing on earth at the time. And she was hot and cool and badass and everything. And then that's when the newspapers would take pictures of him. So that was the early days of all that shit. So, you know, you think about the
minute.
The boomers that grew up with it.
Neither one of us are going to know her name, but you know, Jerry Lee Lewis's cousin.
Oh, Jesus. Wait, I mean, it's like 7 times.
Dude, but Rockstar Wives, he married his 13-year-old second cousin.
Yeah.
Pretty famous, but not on that level because we don't know her name. I would say Priscilla Presley is one where I think it's between Sharon, Pam, and Courtney. Who's number 2? If we both agree that Priscilla Presley is the most famous rock star wife of all time,
right?
Who's 2, 3, and 4? Or am I missing somebody? I mean, Heather Locklear.
Heather Locklear with Tommy Lee and Richie Sambora. That's a big one, you know.
Right.
But that was hot for a minute, and then you know Tommy moved on. You know, Pam eclipses Heather Locklear by about 900 miles, so she's in the discussion. But because of what Pam and Tommy did, Heather Locklear kind of gets pushed to the side. You kind of forget that they were even together, you know. You got to go, you know, Ozzy and Sharon.
She's pretty fucking famous. She was on that damn talk show and everything. Yeah.
And they've been together forever. And the whole Osbourne's TV show on MTV years ago really solidified that whole thing. So I think that's household name. That's not just dumb, dopey rock fans like us. That's a lot of people know who she is.
Sharon's number 2.
Yeah. Who was the other one? I forgot already. Jesus.
Pam. I thought it was Pam, Courtney, and Sharon. As far as famous.
You got to go Pam and Tommy, I think, second. I think you got to go second. I think it is Priscilla, Elvis, Pam and Tommy, Ozzy, Sharon, Kurt and Courtney, and then it gets after that. Then after that, I think it's Janie Lane in Miss Louisiana Teen USA 1987, Bobby Brown. She was in the Cherry Pie video.
Oh, yeah, Cherry Pie, for sure.
Maybe that's a little further down the list. You know what is the famous one that is fucking wild, that no one really knows the name, but George Harrison of the Beatles was married to Pattie Boyd. Well, George is banging Ringo's wife, and Pattie starts banging other dudes, so they split up.
She started banging Clapton, right?
Well, Clapton kept chasing after her, and she said, "No, I'm not interested in Clapton. I'm not interested in you." So Clapton, being an artist, he's all bummed out. He really wants to be with his Patty Boy chick. So he goes out and he writes fucking Layla. That song is about his desire to be with her.
Yeah.
And then later on, he went to write the song Wonderful Tonight. That is also about Patty Boyd. They got married. They were married for quite a few years. And of course, that did not work out forever. But I wouldn't consider her a famous one, but she's famous because of the songs that were written about her. She was quite the muse. You could look at.
I don't know that I didn't know both of those songs were written about her.
Yeah.
I knew Layla was about her. I didn't know the other one. You Look Wonderful Tonight is about her.
Yeah, that's about her. The whole, and it's a fucking great song, man. If you got a chick play that for her, she'll be like, whoa.
But he's fucking friends with George.
Yeah, they were great pals. But back then, dude, Patty Boy was banging a lot of people, but then George was also banging a lot of people. It's a mess. I started diving down that rabbit hole. And I'm like, oh, I got to get out of this one. This one's freaking me out too much. But yeah, Layla was written, and he sent the song to Patty Boyd. And as soon as she heard it, she's like, holy shit, everyone's going to know this song is about me. And she still kept turning him down.
Fuck, I thought you were going to say she heard the song and jumped right on his rocket.
No, it took a little while. And then she warmed up. She realized how great the song was. She's like, holy shit, you wrote this about me. And then they got together and it all worked out. But yeah, then he later went and wrote Wonderful Tonight. If you haven't heard that song, woof, that's a good one. That's a really good song.
Rosanna Arquette, Toto, Rosanna.
Ah, that's true.
Right?
What's the top 5 on that? What's
the other song that's written about her?
Oh, shit, I know this, but I don't know it right now. Damn it.
Aha! Pete Gabriel, In Your Eye.
Oh, yes.
Well, I always call it In Your Eye because I'm thinking of Load, but it's called In Your Eyes.
Eyes, 2 eyes. If you've got a decent batch, you can probably hit them both.
Wow, but I'd like to think that Peter Gabriel roped one right in her eye socket.
How did we get Rick Ocasek, Paulina
Portzakova,
yeah.
Who is a great follow on Instagram.
Really?
She is, I'm going to throw it out there, 56, 57, and naked all the time. She's got that whole look at me. You know, she used to be a, runway model, and nobody could understand why she married Rick Ocasek because he was not a handsome man
at all.
And she was like one of the hottest girls ever. But she was in that Who's Gonna Drive You Home? She was in the Drive video.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know if that's where they met or I don't know. But I know she's in that video and she was and is smoking. Yeah. She throws it out there, man. Like she wants to date. She's an interesting follow, man.
I'd let her use my grill.
Oh, yeah. She's allowed. She's allowed. You can put your meat right on her grill.
This is funny, but and no one's going to know this one because it's a little bit older than our generation X. Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall. Jerry Hall was a famous model back in the 80s. They were together from like 85 to 97. Yeah. Axl Rose was with that Stephanie Seymour underwear model. Of course, then he beat the shit out of her and stuff, allegedly. She was in the November Rain video. They were only together for like a year and a half. Dave Navarro, Carmen Electra. They were married for a couple of years, but they weren't super famous.
They had an MTV show, Till Death Do Us Part.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. And she's still hot. What have we learned about this exercise? Learn to play a damn instrument or sing because ugly dudes get models when you're a rock star. Did you notice how bad Mick Jagger looks? How weird Billy Joel looks? Rick Ocasek, Axl Rose, Ozzy.
Yeah, everybody's like way out of the dudes. The chicks are way out of their league. Way out of their league.
Way out of their league.
Except for I think Gavin Rossdale is hotter than Gwen Stefani. I want to go on record as saying that.
He is absolutely stunning to look at. That dude is dreamy.
He is hotter than Gwen Stefani.
By a mile.
Gwen Stefani never really did anything for me. I don't know. Zero. I mean, when people would lose their mind over her, even back in the No Doubt days, I just never saw it. I never saw it with her. Nice. I interviewed her 100 years ago, long before she was famous, but I just never saw the beauty. And I mean, she's beautiful. She's great. Let me go on record as saying that, but Gavin's more beautiful than her.
Yeah. I had to flip a coin on that one because he's unbelievable, man. And you know what's really cool about their story is they were on tour back in like 95 or whatever it was. And they were all over the place. Well, they played in New Orleans no doubt was opening up for Bush, and he had been trying to get her to go out, to go out. You know where that dude got her to go? Molly's, right off of Bourbon Street. And they had some pints down there, and they hung out all night going around the French Quarter. And that's when they started dating here in New Orleans.
Molly's Pub?
Yeah, the one that's off of Bourbon. I forget the side street, but it's, yeah, like Conti maybe or something. Yeah, the little dumpy one. You know, not the one where you get the Irish coffees down in Decatur. There's a different one.
Yeah. Okay,
And,
good.
yeah, that's where they were hanging out and stuff, chilling. I'm like, oh, it's all started here in New Orleans. But yeah, no, Gavin Rossdale, he wins the handsome or the better looker in that deal. Yeah, outside of that, I couldn't think of anybody else.
Oh, wait a minute. Recently, consciously uncoupled? Was that the term?
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh, I have that. Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow. She's annoying.
Yeah.
She's just fucking awful. She's not hot, nothing. She does nothing for me.
Yeah, I might do Chris Martin over her
in a minute. Yeah, he's at least cool. Yeah.
I really enjoyed my conversation with him last year. So yeah, I might have sex with Chris Martin over Gwyneth.
Yeah, she's like a wet paper towel. She does nothing for me.
Coming up, we're going to talk Lenny Kravitz. He's having a birthday on Friday. We said he's a vampire. He's going to be 59. He was a resident of the French Quarter for a number of years.
Your neighbor.
Yeah, just down the street from where I've got a place. Lenny Kravitz, top 5. Before we break, was this easy?
It was weird. I haven't done a deep dive on Lenny Kravitz deep cuts in a long time. So I know I'm going to miss some shit, and you're going to have one on there. And I'm going to be like, damn it. Yeah, no, I love Lenny Kravitz, man. He's always been one of those guys that's just always there. It's always solid. His old shit. I love his old shit. I couldn't tell you any of his more recent stuff, but yeah, wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, I was there out of the gate with his career and going to see him live right when he was brand new. I've seen him multiple times. Traveled to go see him, and yeah. So great. I can't wait. Talk a little Lenny Kravitz. Why don't we take a break and we'll come back and we'll do our Lenny Kravitz top 5s. Wow. I can actually take a break here. I don't remember the last time I was able to take a break during this podcast.
Well, that's because the Rod Ryan Show Cares has been busy in the store. Store's up. It's online. All new summer merch is available, man. I've seen some of these t-shirts. They're looking good. The koozies are badass. Stickers. All kinds of cool stuff. Now, what Rod's trying to do here, and he's done it many times in the past, he's raising money to purchase backpacks for area Houston kids who obviously are in need of them. And he's working again with the Houston's children's charity, trying to outdo last year. Let me just put this number in perspective, okay? Last year, pulled in $101,000. That's not $101. That's $101,000. And they passed out over 3,500 filled backpacks. They got all supplies the kids are going to need in there. Safe, secure shopping now on the world famous Rod Ryan Show page at thebuzz.com. That is thebuzz.com. Get your merch, put it on. It's cool shit. It looks badass. And I will be doing a little shopping this weekend on the Rod Ryan Show Cares page at thebuzz.com. When you look at a number like 101,000, you just go, how the fuck are we going to beat that?
Yes.
A lot of money, dude.
And I do that to myself, and it's a terrible thing to want to outdo yourself every year. It's awful. But it's awful. I mean, it's a great thing. I love having goals, and I love setting the bar, and I never want to go backwards and all of that. And it's like, okay, we're going to have to top out somewhere. Listen, if we come close to $100,000 again, I'll be happy. The backpacks with everything, dude. What's not more expensive? Everything is more expensive.
Everything.
So not only are the backpacks more expensive, but everything that goes in those backpacks, the scissors are more, the crayons are more, the spiral notebooks, the protractors, the rulers. It's insane, dude, how much more everything is. So I used to be able to get about $20 for a backpack. I got to raise the price of the t-shirts, and I don't want to do that either. But the actual t-shirts are costing me more.
Right.
And there's just nothing that's not kind of gone through the roof over the last 5 years. Inflation 5 years has been ridiculous.
I could fix the one of the things. I could probably get the price lower because what you do is printing costs money, right? And when you have to buy crayons, okay, if you take out the Y and just
Kind
spell
of.
it crayons,
I know you tried. Still
there you
sounded
go.
weird.
You could do it. Crayons.
Crayons.
CRANS. Crayons. You're saving ink, dude. We can lower the cost of crayons.
CRANS. Crayons. Kids, you're getting crayons this year.
Crayons just still sounds weird to me after all these years. That's funny.
Okay, but so all these years removed from Western New York, crayons still sounds good to you?
I don't know anymore, man. I don't hear it very often. I don't exactly talk crayons in my house anymore. You know, it's not something we do. I'm gonna try to get people to use that word in a sentence so I can hear how they say it now. It's like the word iron. So I've got people say I say iron wrong. Iron. You gonna iron your clothes? Iron.
It's a little rushed. Iron.
Hey,
Yeah,
why you?
Okay, wait a minute. Here, I got called out on the air on this. Okay, I didn't know I was saying anything wrong. I would pee at the urinal. I would stand up and pee at the urinal.
Urinal. Urinal.
It's a urinal. It's like, what's the rush, dude? Why are you missing something there? It's a urinal. And
Wow.
we
Sorry.
didn't grow up saying that, right? There's no way we grew up saying urinal.
No, we're a little quick up there in the Northeast, man. Urinal.
Right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the urinal's fucked. Urinal's out. Urinal.
Hey, is it shitter? Is there a urinal in there too? Is there a urinal in there? And who the fuck took the crayons and wrote all over the walls above the urinal?
Holy shit. What? Oh, way.
You know what? And I tell you what, it was a growing moment. It was like the day that Alex went from a boy to a man. He just looked at me on the air and he said, "I got a question for you. What's a urinal?"
Urinal.
I went, "What?" I go, "What, little man? What?" He goes, "Yeah, what are you saying? What's a urinal?" And I said, "Wow, I had no idea I was saying it wrong for 50 years."
A urinal. It's where I write down all my deepest thoughts.
Yep.
I hope nobody ever reads it.
Yeah, the urinal. It's a urinal.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when your job is to speak on a radio or in a public forum and you're fucking up some words.
You can't talk. I mean, I don't know how I've gotten to this point in my career.
I don't know, man. Lenny Kravitz is turning what, 58?
59, dude.
59. Wow.
59.
And I hope I look that good when I'm 59.
I've had a couple of opportunities to meet him. I've been up close with him. He looks fabulous up close. It's not one of those guys that there's no trickery, there's no makeup, no nothing. God damn, he's a handsome man. And in shape. The last time, it was a long time ago when I interviewed him. I've interviewed him on the phone before, but I'm talking like face to face. And he's sitting there in like some red silky robe and it's like open here. Of course, he's in a fucking robe, barefoot, sitting on a couch. And I go back there and he's waiting to, like, I really felt like I was being received. It wasn't like I walked in and met him.
Right.
He was ready to receive me. And he was just sitting on the couch, just like you would think a sultan would.
Yeah.
And then, and I didn't feel comfortable sitting on the couch next to him. And I didn't want to kneel on the floor in front of him. That seemed a little weird.
Start filleting.
I remember pulling a chair over because he looked so comfortable. And I felt weird sitting next to him on the couch because I knew I had to do some of this with the microphone.
Right. Back and forth.
And he's ready to receive me, but he's clearly not setting up for me, nor is anybody. And I grabbed a chair and I dragged it over in front of him. I go, "Is this okay?" He's like, "Go ahead." So that's kind of what I remember about that. And then I tried to get out of him where he lived. At that time, I didn't know where he lived in the French Quarter. I knew it was, and he kind of shut me down on that.
Yeah.
But so he lived past tense on the 600 block of Dauphine Street. And it's a cool little place, man. I think it would be an easy Google search for you if anybody was that interested to put Lenny Kravitz French Quarter Cottage. And I bet you, some kind of old realtor, another one, realtor. Nope. Another one of those realtor websites. And I bet you there's old pictures up. It's pretty cool. He had the place redone. It's awesome inside.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was fixing my cable, and somehow we were talking about Lenny Kravitz. It came up. He's like, yeah, he goes, I just got done. This was years ago, obviously, when he was still down here. He's like, yeah, I just got done rewiring Lenny Kravitz's place. I went, you did what?
Badass.
He goes, yeah, he goes, that place is wild. Apparently there's like a loft where it's just the bed. The upstairs, they like redid the whole inside of this French Quarter. From the street, it looks like nothing. It looks like nothing. But inside, it's like he's got just a huge loft where it's just his bed and all this weird shit.
Yep.
Piano in there and all this stuff. I'm like, now I don't imagine it's still got the same crazy white shag carpet and all that cool shit that was in there. But the pictures are out there. It's a rock star place for sure.
Yeah. Fucking cool drapes and stuff. And I want to say,
and urinal.
You might have a urinal in there. I want to say when I did see it for sale, I don't know. It was like I really have this number in my head: $1.2 million.
That's about right for that size property in the Quarter. Yeah,
it would be more now, but this was years ago. I have no idea who lives there. I know exactly where it is. It still looks cool on the outside too. But I remember the number 1.2 million. And you're like, well, what size is that, Rod? I bet you it is 1,200 square feet.
It's not huge. It's a cottage. It's small.
Yeah.
It is very small. But in the French Quarter, your property value is huge. And it's like, if you're going to buy a place, you're looking at $500 to $550 per square foot in the French Quarter. So you start doing.
I hear you humming, Harold.
Yeah, that's some big. Well, he's written some pretty freaking cool songs. He's got the cash laying around, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've written no songs, and I don't know what I'm doing down there.
Right.
All right, let's go, bro.
All right, top 5 favorite Lenny Kravitz songs. Here we go. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Because I know you're gonna bust out some fucking song that's like a deeper cut. And I'm gonna be like, damn it, I missed that.
Deep cut, maybe one.
Okay.
Maybe one, maybe just one deep cut. And go ahead. I'm just gonna tell you, if you have that fucking cover song in your top 5, I'm gonna punch you right through this Zoom meeting.
American Woman in at number. No, actually, you know what? I left it off.
I hate it. I hate it.
I don't like necessarily.
I don't like the original one. It's talking bad about American women. It's from a Canadian band saying, "American woman, I don't want you. I don't need you." It's a terrible song. I don't like what it's about. I don't like the actual song, and I don't like the fucking cover. So I'm so happy you don't have that in your top 5.
No, I do not. Number 5, Are You Gonna Go My Way? Number 5. Now, the reason it's number 5 is I've been playing it on the radio since 1995. So a little burnt, but I still love that damn song. It still rips. He wrote that in like 5 minutes. He literally went bang, knocked it out. It was like at the end of the album cycle that he was writing and all that shit, and he just went in there and pounded that thing out. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Your most famous song.
I think it's pretty common in a lot of his songs, but that one specifically, that's Lenny Kravitz playing the drums in the studio on that.
Right. Yeah. Great song. I mean, how do you beat that song? Number 4, Can't Get You Off My Mind. I don't remember I don't know who he wrote that one about, but just a great freaking song. Lenny's got some very cool music you want to put on in the evening. Got a lady friend over, you know what I'm saying? Lenny's got that kind of vibe in a lot of his songs.
Because he's so fucking cool that if he goes into that falsetto, that kind of that BG thing, like he can do it.
Yep.
And he'll sing a song. He'll start out in that falsetto and you're like, he's not going to stay holy fuck. He's going to sing the whole song like that. He's cool enough. He can do it. People cannot do that.
That's a lot. That's a lot on your voice. That was number 4. Another great, almost an anthem in a way. Let Love Rule. How do you beat that? You know, that's a great freaking song.
Well, apparently 2 songs beat it because that's your number 3.
Yeah, I have 6, but I will skip the 1. Number 2, All You Need Is Love. Number 1, All You Need Is Love. Number 2, All You Need Is Love. Number 3, All You Need Is Love. Number 4, All You Need Is Love. Number 5, All You Need Is Love. Number 6, All You Need Is Love. Number 7, All You Need Is Love. Number 8, All You Need Is Love. Number 9, All You Need Is Love. Number 10, All You Need Is Love. Number 11, All You Need Is Love. Number 12, All You Need Is Love. Number 13, All You Need Is Love. Number 14, All You Need Is Love. Number 15, All You Need Is Love. Number 16, All You Need Is Love. Number 17, All You Need Is Love. Number 18, All You Need Is Love. Number 19, All You Need Is Love. Number 20, All You Need Is Love. Number 21, All You Need Is Love. Number 22, Always on the Run, a song written with Slash. And what's interesting about that is Slash was over on tour with Guns N' Roses in Europe. And he took the Concorde over to New York because Lenny Kravitz was in New York and they knew they wanted to write a song together. So they just fixed it. This timing was just the only way they could pull it off. And Slash tells Lenny Kravitz, have a gallon of vodka and a shit ton of ice, and I'll be there in a little while. And he flies in, I would assume drank the vodka, and they wrote Always on the Run. How freaking badass is that? And then Slash took off and went out to LA. Like
that was on my Mother's Day list because the whole chorus or the whole verse is My Mama Said.
Right.
And it's all about lessons that he learned from his mom, who was famously Roxy Roker, who was the neighbors of the Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons, that interracial marriage. And number one, my favorite Lenny Kravitz song, at least for today, Believe. It's a slow ass song. But when you get that song just builds, and when he starts ripping into that guitar solo, and it just builds and builds and builds, man, it is epic. That guitar solo is so fucking cool. That dude can play everything. It's so great. So that was my number one, Believe. Definitely, man. That you put on some Lenny, you got yourself a lady friend coming over. Go with Lenny Kravitz. It's gonna work.
I had Believe and Can't Get You Off of My Mind as my sixes. God, those are good songs, man. Those are great fucking songs.
Yeah, all mine are kind of slow.
Well, in at number 5, dude, that's late 80s, man. Let Love Rule. The first time I ever heard Lenny Kravitz. I always have this. I always feel like when we do these top 5s, if it's the song that introduced me to you as an artist and I like you as an artist, I gotta go back to the roots that got me into you in the first place. So that first album, he looked different. He sounded different. It wasn't long that we found out that his mom was a famous, actress. And then it kind of made sense. Okay. But then you kind of thought, okay, nepotism. Let's see what this guy does. Okay. He's going to get the one album and that's it. He's going to be a one and done deal. He's got this whole hippie thing going on, this great vibe. Let Love Rule. 89, dude. 89.
That's incredible. I forget that he was actually earlier. You don't think of Lenny Kravitz as being out in the late 80s like that. You think early 90s.
Let Love Rule in at number 5. In at number 4, this is my kind of deeper cut from the Mama Said album. Slash apparently didn't get too drunk because he played on Fields of Joy. Nice. And that's another one that's just a builder. And then boom, Slash hits. Those guys went to high school together.
Yeah.
So he had known Slash for a long time. And I know Lenny Kravitz, I don't know exactly his story because he's a New York kid. But if he went to high school with Slash, that means he had to go to LA and spent. So he must have split
with the parents.
He must have split his early years in New York and then went to LA for high school. Right. So that's where he hooks up with Slash. God, it's amazing that those guys didn't get like a full-on band together. Can you imagine?
Oof.
Jeez. So Fields of Joy from the Mama Said album. I've always loved that song. That's my number 4. In at number 3, Always on the Run. So I got Slash back to back on that.
Yeah.
Number 2, Are You Gonna Go My Way? Are You Gonna Go My Way? The video is like the Thunderdome looking thing. Yeah. And if you remember the very beginning, that drums, and they're just that chick's beating on the snare drum. And if you remember Lenny standing there, I remember the video. There was this, it looked like a crown of thorns, but it was a crown of lights that was coming down on his head.
Yeah.
And the imagery for that, he must have, I don't know where it was filmed. I'm sure all of this is on the internet, but it was in some kind of a silo. And there were people, and it was very apocalyptic, and they were all around him on different levels. It was such a fucking cool video. It's such a rocking song. Are You Gonna Go My Way in at number 2? And number 1, and I have personal reasons for this, but Lenny Kravitz put out an album, Circus, and nobody was touching him. Lenny Kravitz was no longer on the radio. There was nothing going on with him. And Circus was, I think, his 4th album. He comes out with the album called Number 5, and the song Fly Away is on there. And I heard it. The record company's working me. I'm a music director at the time. And I get this thing on the radio because I think it's going to be a fucking slam dunk. I think it's going to be a hit. Lenny Kravitz calls me and thanks me for getting the song on the radio.
Holy shit.
And then when the song does become a smash, sends me a gold record.
Wow.
Lenny puts a note in there. Thank you. So New Orleans is not the biggest radio market, nor is it the biggest city. But that was the spark. I was in on a couple of those. That was one of them that I was definitely in on the ground floor. And the record company remembered it. Lenny remembered it. Yeah, Lenny, how it worked is the record guy called me and said, hey, dude, Lenny wants to talk to you. And then transferred me over. And then I'm sitting at my desk talking to Lenny Kravitz, and he's thanking me for playing Fly Away. Dude, nobody was playing Lenny Kravitz on the the
Yeah. Well, his time had kind of fallen apart for some reason.
Yeah. And I do want to say it was the fourth album. It might have been Circus. I don't know if that was Rock and Roll is Dead, or I can't remember what was on there, but I know that we weren't playing it. And Lenny Kravitz he was a star. He was famous. And then the Lisa Bonet, he was very famous, but we didn't touch anything off of that fourth album.
No.
And that stresses an artist out. They want to be on the radio. So Fly Away, with the personal story, it is a great song, but Fly Away is, with the gold record and everything that in the phone call and the handwritten note. How could that not be my favorite Lenny Kravitz song?
No shit, dude. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's weird because, in the position like I do now, again, programming a radio station, you're shuffling the deck and you're like, well, you're looking at songs and you're just trying to figure out what you think is going to work, what it's not going to work. And that doesn't happen very often anymore. It didn't happen a lot back then either, really, with a song. But, once in a while you get that magic spark and like, oh, wait, New Orleans is playing that. And then other radio stations are going to look at that and go, oh, well, I better listen to that again. And then the next one, and then you get 2, and then you get 4, and then you get 8, and then you get 60. And next thing you know, you're getting a gold record from Lenny Kravitz.
I don't think he was even living there at the time. So there wasn't any, he's a citizen. He's here. It makes sense for us to play him. I don't think he moved there until after that.
No, and nobody really talked about when he lived here. You didn't hear about it very often, or at least I didn't. Like you knew he lived here, but no one ever was freaking out about it. You know what I mean? It was late
90s.
Yeah.
It was late 90s. So it was clearly after Fly Away. So again, I didn't play the song because he lived there. There was no hey, here's one of our own, because, when you live in a city, the city kind of adopts you a little bit. But you're right. Like Lenny Kravitz, I don't remember him being out and about a lot.
No, he was very quiet.
Now, when we first moved to New Orleans, about a year before we moved there, Trent Reznor moved there.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm going to say we moved to New Orleans in 95. Reznor moved down there in maybe 93. That's when he bought the funeral home and, he started working with, and then that's when he started working with Marilyn Manson and everything.
Right.
He was kind of out and about a little bit. I saw him.
Oh, I saw him a bunch of times. Yeah.
I saw him several times. I saw him at like a Cheap Trick show. He was in that Loge area and in the House of Blues. When I got to go backstage to meet U2, he was back there, wanted to meet U2. I mean, he was a New Orleanian. He was out and about. He borrowed our studio to do Rockline back in the day, or whatever that show was, the national show. Came up on our platform at Voodoo to watch, I can't remember, Queens of the Stone Age or something. And he didn't want to be bothered. He had goons with him, but he was around town. He would go to concerts. I don't remember that vibe with Lenny being around, going out and about.
Never saw Lenny. I was at a Mardi Gras parade one time, standing on St. Charles Avenue, standing there catching beads and hanging out with a beer. And I looked to my left, Trent Reznor in a leather jacket, just chilling, catching beads. I'm like, right? I go, oh, holy fuck, it's Trent Reznor. And then he was just kind of hopping down. He would just stop for a couple minutes, watch it float, and then he'd start walking again. I'm just like, holy shit, Trent Reznor. And then the Voodoo thing, it might have been that year. We had like a little platform out in the field somewhere out back from the stage. And it might have been a different year. I don't remember. But yeah, he came up and he's like, hey, you mind if we stand up here and watch Cypress Hill? I go, yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want, dude. You're Trent Reznor. Come on up. You want a drink? You want whatever? You know? Want me to get on my knees and hum away? What do you want?
The year that I mean, we might be talking about the exact same story, but I remember being on the air broadcasting at the Voodoo Festival. Hey, Trent Reznor's people are here. They want to know, can he come up? And I remember immediately, because you remember, think about how your mindset was back then. Yeah, he can watch, but he's got to come on the air and say hi. Yeah, no problem. After. That's the problem. Right. Yeah, he'll do it after. So he came up with his goons, and I don't know if we're talking about the same time, but mine specifically is, yeah, he'll come over. How great would that be? Hey, we got Trent Reznor, man. Hey, who do you here to see? What you're working on? That type of thing. Second to last song, I don't remember what fucking band it was. Boom, they boogie out of there. He's not going on the air with us.
I know. He just wants to go and hang. He wants to go and experience things. But yeah, no, I see him around every once in a while, or you hear stories. Saw Trent Reznor in the grocery store. I'm like, that had to be weird. No, this fucking melon ain't ripe. He's thumping on a melon. It's Trent Reznor.
People say that there was a gym in Lakeview that he used to work out at. That's when he really started to get in shape.
Right.
Believe it or not, in New Orleans is when he started to really start, because he was a little skinny guy. If you go back to, Pretty Hate Machine and all that, he was a little skinny dude, but he started to get really buff, and he was working out in New Orleans all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things that didn't make my list. Again, with that damn falsetto, only he can do it. Well, only he and the Bee Gees. It ain't over till it's over.
Yes.
And he always talked about how personal that song was to him, because that's right where he was. The whole song is about him and Lisa Bonet arguing. Right. So it's one of those where he's really letting you in, and man, it ain't over till it's over. It sounds like he's kind of fighting to keep that marriage together. And it's a super, super personal song. It's got a beautiful string section in it and everything. Again, a lot of songs, and I like this. A lot of the Lenny Kravitz songs, I associate the video. Yeah. And Mr. Cab Driver has always been a personal favorite of mine.
Banger. Love that tune.
I love Mr. Cab Driver. So, I mean, those first two Lenny Kravitz albums are unbelievable. The first two albums, I went to Toronto and he opened up for The Cult. What a show, man. Okay. And that was right when he was brand new. That was on the first album that he was touring. Awesome. Just, you still kind of thought maybe he's just a celebrity's kid, but fuck, it was so good. You were hoping that it wasn't just a lucky thing. And clearly he turned out to be this just mega star.
When you think about where he fits into the whole scheme of the shit we talk about every episode about, the early 90s and the 90s and stuff and Gen X and all that shit, grunge, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all that stuff. Lenny Kravitz was one of these guys that was just kind of always along in there. He was always in that fabric. He wasn't that level, obviously, but his shit would come in and come out. Are You Gonna Go My Way was massive. We still play it, from time to time, and then thank God you showed up, because otherwise, what would Lenny be doing now without Fly Away?
Thank you.
Really,
you're welcome.
What would he be? That's why he probably had to sell his place. He needed the money until you saved him.
Lenny, call me. We can catch up.
Rod Ryan saves Lenny Kravitz headlines.
Pretty much.
I mean, pretty much. Thank God you keep the note.
But he, I have it with the record. It's not a traditional gold record. It's an RIAA certified, but the gold record itself is a number 5.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's a plexiglass number 5, and it's got the RIAA certification, and then it's got the brass plate in there with your name engraved in it. So it's to me, and that's probably the most special one. I have a bunch of those, but that's the most special one for sure. Just because it came from, I felt like I don't know, the guy made me believe that he wanted me to have it. I'm like, okay, thank you, Lenny. I appreciate it.
That is pretty good. That's pretty cool.
I saw Lenny Kravitz here in Houston. He wasn't having his best night. He talked about his voice not being well, but he didn't want to cancel the show. And in his backing band was Trombone Shorty.
Well, they were BFFs for years, man. They would play together all the time. Yeah.
But I imagine they kind of met in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So he's got a horn section with him when he's out on tour. And yeah, he's got Trombone Shorty, and he called him out. He said, yeah, that's Trombone Shorty back there. Before Trombone Shorty was huge. I mean, if you're in New Orleans, Trombone Shorty's huge. But yeah, that was pretty great. He brought him up front, kind of like you would bring a guitar player up front, or kind of, you'd feature your lead guitar player. He brought Trombone Shorty up to the front a little bit and jammed with him. It was pretty awesome.
It's funny you mentioned that about Trombone Shorty, because he closes out the last Sunday at Jazz Fest every year. And all my friends who are, usually when I've got out of towners, I'm like, okay, you just saw this whole thing all weekend, whatever, you're drunk and you're full of all the great food and you've seen a million bands. Now we go close it out with Trombone Shorty. They're like, nah, let's just leave. I don't need some fucking band dork up there on stage. And I'm like, oh, good Lord, you are missing it. Because I have converted so many people into Trombone Shorty fans. I go, just give me 2 songs. Give me 2 songs. Okay. He comes walking out and the band is spectacular. And there's all these horn players and they are just destroying. And by the end of it, you're just like, where do I buy his shit? This is awesome. Like, it doesn't take much to become a fan of Trombone Shorty. It's fucking great.
So the Chili Peppers are playing here Thursday night, tomorrow night at Minute Maid Park. The last time they played here, they played the Toyota Center. Trombone Shorty opened up.
Wow.
He was out on tour with the Chili Peppers.
I do remember.
So we managed to get some awesome side stage type deal or whatever, and we're standing there and we're watching the Chili Peppers, and you and your Trent Reznor, Trombone Shorty fucking standing right next to us. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Trombone Shorty, what the fuck is up, bro? And talking to him, the whole deal, man. Yeah. Super great guy. Said, dude, New Orleans, Jazz Fest, seen you a million times. Now that you're closing, congratulations on being the guy that's closing it out and stuff. He seemed to be, at least he acted like, hey, thanks for knowing some of those things. So didn't give him a hard time. Didn't talk his ear off. The Chili Peppers were on stage, but just telling him that he's closing Jazz Fest because it was something that the Neville brothers did forever. And, Jason coined the term years ago. It's like, that was walkout music.
Yep.
That done. Neville brothers, pack up the chairs. And then that's what we're going to listen to when we're walking out.
Yep.
And then Trombone Shorty changed all that. Shit, we're not walking out. We're staying to the end, and we're not trying to beat the traffic, beat the crowd. No, we're staying here for this. The last band of the last weekend.
Yeah, and he brings it. I mean, it's just brought. He fucking brings it every year, and he's so great. So yeah, no. And Trombone Shorty would go out with Lenny Kravitz. So, and you can see a little influence of Lenny Kravitz on Trombone Shorty sometimes. So the way he sings a little bit, the way he moves around, you can totally see there is a certain influence with that whole thing. Rod, let's take a quick break and then let's wrap this thing up, dude. Let's get it done. We gotta get to our final thoughts.
Next time you visit New Orleans, man, make sure you book the Pirate Tour. What? Yeah. Pirates of the Quarter? It's a French Quarter walking tour. It's a great time of year to get down to New Orleans right now. Discover the real pirate history of New Orleans, man. Book your tour, piratesofthequarter.com if you already took the tour. And they didn't have shirts at the time, or if you just love pirates, or when you go and you take this, you're going to want some sort of a memento. Check out the shop page at piratesofthequarter.com. Piratesofthequarter.com. The shop is there. You can make your reservations when you're going to be in town. Book the tour. They got these kick-ass shirts for sale. They got a great little walking tour, and there's a pub crawl, and you're drinking your beers. You're walking around, and you're hearing real stories about the French Quarter. I mean, real stories. I don't think it was last week or the week before. We didn't end up shitting on anything, but we just talked some of the differences on some of the other tours. And this is real history, but it's interesting enough that you don't got to fake it. Everything is at piratesofthequarter.com. Follow them on all socials at Pirates of the Quarter. Okay.
So Rod, let's talk about this movie I got to watch this weekend. I forgot about that part. You have, I mean, obviously Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan. I'll probably watch that. That'll be on at some point. I'll have it on and I'll walk by it, a bunch over the weekend.
And I'm sure, is it AMC? Somebody will run all of the Band of Brothers, right? They'll just kind of have a marathon on.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And that's just so great. So yeah, it'll just be war movies all weekend at my house. But you've got a movie that I didn't watch last year, and I hope to get to it this year.
So I think it might be made for HBO, and maybe that's why I don't think it was ever something that was in movie theaters. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it's Kevin Bacon, and the movie is called Taking Chance. And Chance is the name of a soldier. And when a soldier passes away, which is why we have this long weekend, the amount of respect and how that body is transported back to the family, you'll learn so much. Kevin Bacon is brilliant in it. Kevin Bacon we need to do a top 5 Kevin Bacon movies. He's been in awesome. A billion of them. Yeah. We might almost have to expand to top 10. No. Kevin Bacon's done so much. Taking Chance. He wants to do this job, and it's so difficult, and he wants to be respectful, and you just will be blown away at the transportation of a fallen soldier's body and the amount of respect everywhere. And, sometimes these bodies are on commercial flights, and they're down there with the luggage and stuff. And people are looking out the window and they can see, and they all stop. It's amazing, dude. I cannot stress enough the movie Taking Chance, Kevin Bacon. It is an absolute must for Memorial Day weekend.
All right. I'm going to have to watch that damn movie now.
I promise you, hands down, 2 thumbs up. It's just an amazing movie, and you'll come away just appreciating this weekend that we're about to have tenfold.
Good advice. I'm Taking Chance. I'm going to have to watch it this weekend because I said I was going to do it last year.
Yep. Mike Stans did.
Well, Mike Stans a little smarter than I am.
He is a lot smarter than you.
Actually, a lot smarter. I bet he doesn't say crayons either. Although, you know what? I bet he does.
What do you have for some final thoughts there, Jason Ginty?
Anyone wants to use my grill, they can fuck off. That's what I learned today. That's my final thought. I'm not letting anyone touch I will smash your fingers with my spatula moving forward. I've learned some things. I didn't realize that was a thing. No idea.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, you wouldn't let this guy make out with your wife. Don't let him Don't let him play around with your grill.
Weird.
Okay. Again, if he brings something, then okay. I really do feel, like I said, Chili does a great job when he brings that crazy, goes to the Mexican meat market. I'm like, okay, bro, you do that. You do you. Right. You do all of that. But boom, now the grill, dude, it's your grill. Come on. Come on, dude. You're better than that.
All right. I didn't know this. I just was like, hey, man, all's fair in love and war, man. I'm good with it. How about you, Rod? Any final thoughts? And no, you're not using my grill.
I will be in New Orleans this weekend.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm going to be not in New Orleans this weekend.
Yeah. But I don't have the kid.
Oh, so we didn't plan this out well.
I know. So it's a last minute thing. It just went down yesterday, I believe. I have a friend, Chris, here that just turned 50. My buddy Dennis just turned 70.
Oof.
So I sent a text and it said, cunts.
Oh, Jesus. So nice.
I don't have my kid this weekend. There's a 1:30 flight on Friday to New Orleans. Let's be on it. Nice. And again, I only sent it to them too because it's their birthday, and I know that they're kind of they're liquid. Neither one of them is married. Kids are older, and they both got back to me. And they're like, "Okay, boom, we're in." So yeah, it's one of those. So it's a dude. It's a dude New Orleans weekend. What should we do, Jason? We're coming to New Orleans. What should we do?
All of it. Drink everything and eat everything. There you go. That's what I would do. I would get my ass down like Frenchman Street, go see some good music.
Yeah.
Be fucking walking up and down Bourbon Street all night. That's cool for about an hour. Then you got to get off to the weeds. Got to get out there a little bit and see some shit, you know? Yeah.
You know, neither one of those mooks have ever been on a train, on a trolley. So
Streetcar.
I thought we would take a streetcar, and I thought we would maybe take it up all the way up St. Charles, and maybe, even if we just rode it all the way up to Cooter Brown's or something,
Yeah. Do that. Go up there and then go down to the Maple Leaf, right next to Giacomo's. Actually, you do I got you, dude. I got you. You go up there.
Get dropped off at the Camellia Grill.
Get off at Camellia Grill, walk down, go to Giacomo's, have dinner. Fucking classic. They'll love the place. The food's great. It's insane. And then go next door to the Maple Leaf, see some band you'll never heard of, but they'll be great. And then get back on the damn streetcar and head down a little bit. Then head over you go to the Columns for a nice drink over there. Get yourself a nice drink.
Well, I got to take him to Snake and Jake's.
Oh, well, but then you go all the way back to the Quarter. Then you go over to Frenchman Street, and then about 3 a.m. you Uber up to Snake and Jake. You can't go into Snake and Jake's until at least 1:30 in the morning, dude. You come on. That's your first time to New Orleans, right? Seriously, Snake and Jake's is a late night place.
Yes, it is.
I haven't been there in years either, man. Another great place.
I went about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it always is.
It was awesome. We talked about that on the podcast before. Jason and I roll in there about 2 a.m, and Stephen Kenny, the drummer from Alice in Chains, is playing the piano in there. Sean Kenny.
Yeah.
Sean Kenny.
Yeah.
He's in there playing the piano. They're like, yeah, that's the drummer of Alice in Chains. I'm like, what?
I'm like, holy shit.
It sure as shit is.
Yeah. That'd be my move, man. I would just keep going. Just keep, if it looks good, don't do the same old. Fine. Get out and stretch your legs a little bit. Stretch your wings. See some shit.
Is the key under the mat in case I need to come over and grill and, jump in your pool and all that naked?
No,
party at your house.
You're not
party at your house.
Grilling. No grilling.
Party.
Not grilling. Not grilling, dude. Sorry, ain't happening. That no one's. You know what? Anyone comes to my house, I don't give a shit who you are. Emerald could come over and be like, "Hey, I'm like, get the fuck away from that Emerald." Slam his fingers in there. He'd never cook again.
Guys, thanks for checking this podcast out. If you haven't subscribed to any of our stuff yet, please do that. Subscribe to the podcast would be huge. Would love for you to check it out on our YouTube channel. It's Play Pants Pod. Would love you to subscribe for that so that you get notifications when new ones go up. And then throw your, drop your top 5. I mean, even if it's just a couple of songs that maybe just off the top of your head, you only know 3 or 4 Lenny Kravitz songs, man, drop those on there. And then, of course, with Memorial Day weekend, those that made the ultimate sacrifice, it's pretty amazing. One of the most amazing things I ever seen in my entire life is being at Arlington National Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the changing of the guard and everything. It's one of the most amazing things. And I know that will be featured on, all the national newscasts, and the president will probably swing by there and stuff this weekend. If you have never been to Washington, D.C. as an adult, some of you probably, went to cool schools and you had field trips. I didn't. No. I didn't go as a child either, but you won't appreciate it as a child. Go as an adult to Washington, D.C. It is absolutely unbelievable. Just go at it. I mean, it doesn't matter, but you just go at a time of year when you can walk. And Arlington National Cemetery and all of that stuff it's unbelievable. So that is another huge recommendation of mine for everyone to do in their adult lives.
I went there a couple of years ago, and we got to see in this, I guess it's in the Smithsonian, I don't remember, but the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and all that stuff. And we got there, we were like the second people in line. Like, usually there's a fucking crowd of people in there. You can barely look at the Declaration of Independence, Yeah. And we had the room. It was us and, the 17 security guards standing around there. It was literally my wife, me, and my son for about 5 minutes in the room with the Declaration of Independence by ourselves. I'm like, holy fuck, is this crazy to sit in that room and just be looking at that going, oh, dude, this is insane. Like, to see that stuff and really appreciate it. It really is a cool thing to check out. And I went over to Mount Vernon, saw George Washington's house, did all that stuff. Yeah. Now, Washington, D.C. is a great trip. I want to do it again because there is so much there to learn, the tours of, the Congress or the Capitol building and all that shit. There's a lot of cool stuff you can check out.
Yeah, you can contact your local congressman, and they have like minions. And when you're in town, That's their job is to, I mean, we pay for all of that, you know, and that's why all those Smithsonians that you were mentioning, they're all free.
Yeah,
they are,
great.
There's no admission. And and I imagine that somebody is hearing this for the first time. There's more than one Smithsonian. There's the Air and Space one. And then there's the one that's got Fonzie's jacket and Archie Bunker's chair. And, you know, there's different Smithsonians, but yeah, you can contact your local congressman and they'll assign you, like some little minion will call you back and they'll get you in. They'll get you a badge and they'll show you around. They'll walk you around.
Yep. It's cool. It's cool as shit. And then to actually see the Lincoln Memorial where he's sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize how fucking huge that is. Like you see it on TV, you're like, oh, that's cool. No. When you're standing there, you're like, whoa. It's just, there's a heaviness. There's just, yeah, DC, great trip. Definitely put that on your bucket list because it is cool as shit. Anyway, that's enough for today. I'm done. Had enough of this shit.
All right, guys. Thank you for checking us out. Crayons.
I go hit the urinal.
Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at PlayPantsPod.